Welcome to Lesson 4 of Section 8 of the BJCP training program from the Brewers Anonymous Homebrew Club. We are still studying the brewing ingredients, malt, and adjuncts, and in this lesson, we are discussing the kilning step in malt production. In the last lesson, we learned how to malt barley up until the malts are dried. But that's not the final form of these malts. They are still going to be kiln roasted to some degree, even the base malts. The bad news regarding this lesson, it is full of a lot of temperature ranges, conditions, numbers for what's ultimately a very few malt-related questions that are going to show up on any of our exams. But the good news to that is all that information has been compiled into a one-page reference table that you can feel free to use in the open book nature of that entrance exam. So let's take a look at that table and go through it so we can get a full understanding of the information on there, particularly the notes column. And here it is. The first couple of malts listed are pretty straightforward. Vienna malts, they're fully dried and roasted at 145 degrees Fahrenheit. British and American pale malts are also fully dried and they're roasted between 130 and 180 degrees Fahrenheit. Czech malts are dried but slowly, starting at 120 degrees Fahrenheit, then rising up to 170 to fully dry. Then after that, they're roasted at 178 degrees Fahrenheit. Dorman malts are kiln dried at low temperatures, and when they're fully dry, they're raised to their roasting temperature of 195 to 205 degrees Fahrenheit. Munich malts go through that same process, but their final roasting range is 210 to 244 degrees Fahrenheit. Amber malts are typically well to fully modified in the malting germination process we discussed in the last lesson. Then they're rapidly heated up to 200 degrees Fahrenheit after fully drying. Then they go on to another roasting process, and this takes place between 280 and 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Crystal and caramel malts. These are fully modified malts and then dried to 50% of their moisture content. You may recall in the last lesson that we said if the malt is not fully dried before roasting, the roasting process will kill the enzymes. And that is the case with these malts. Crystal and caramel malts have very little, if any, diastatic power to convert starches into sugars. In fact, in a very loose interpretation of conversion, the moisture level combined with the roasting is a form of mashing within the kernel itself. Now for crystal and caramel malts, they are initially roasted at 150 to 170 degrees Fahrenheit for 1.5 to 2 hours, then roasted at a specific time and temperature needed to reach the desired Lovibond level. Luckily for us, we don't need to know the specifics of every Lovibond degree of crystal malt because there are a lot of them. Chocolate and black malts. These are under-modified malts that are dried, then roasted up to 2 hours, depending on their desired roastiness, at 420 to 450 degrees Fahrenheit. And lastly, smoked malts. These are malts that are kilned over a smoky fire to impart a rich, smoky aroma and flavor from the phenols in the smoke. Some last things to know about kilning. After the kilning process is done and the result that was intended is reached, the malts are cooled down below 100 degrees Fahrenheit. At this point, any rootlets remaining on the malts are removed, and the malts are allowed to rest for a month before being mashed. And with that last little bit on kilning, we've reached the end of another lesson. We still have more to discuss in this section, so let's get on to the next lesson.